If you are around 40 years old, you have likely spent the last 2 decades collecting things that you were told would secure your future, only to feel like those very things are holding you hostage. The painful reality is that the traditional middle-class dream of vacation homes, shiny cars, and complex investment contracts is actually a series of hidden financial traps designed to drain your wealth right before you cross the retirement finish line. Today, we are going to expose the 10 assets that are a complete waste of money, assets that wealthy retirees refuse to touch. You will discover the mathematical proof behind why these popular status symbols destroy your retirement, and how you can transition from a cluttered portfolio to a system built for absolute freedom. Welcome to Teddy's Wealthcraft, where we help everyday Americans protect their savings, avoid the banking traps, and see the hidden opportunities that others miss. If you are ready to take control of your financial destiny and retire with real peace of mind, please hit that like button and follow the channel. Later in this video, we are going to reveal a simple 3-step investment framework that wealthy retirees use to keep their cash flow flowing and their minds completely stress-free. So you will want to pay close attention to every word.
To understand why certain assets are a complete waste of money, we first have to examine the filter we use to evaluate them. If you look at how the average person views success versus how the actually wealthy view it, you will see two completely different pictures. The middle-class retirement dream is almost always sold as a massive collection of things. It is the second home by the lake, the brand new luxury car in the driveway, and the complex, highly sophisticated investment product that sounds incredibly impressive when you talk about it at a dinner party.
But the wealthy retirement mindset, the one that actually preserves and grows a multi-million-dollar portfolio over decades, is obsessed with only 3 things: liquidity, simplicity, and cash flow. Rich retirees understand that complexity is the absolute enemy of execution. They know that if an asset requires them to answer urgent emails from a property manager, deal with contractors, or worry about a roof leak while they are trying to enjoy a quiet wine tour in Tuscany, it is not an asset. It is a job. And the entire point of retirement is that you did not work 40 years just to hire yourself into another job. The wealthy strictly avoid any asset that ties up their hard-earned capital without a clear, direct path to returns. They understand the concept of opportunity cost, that every single dollar trapped in a dead, non-producing asset is a dollar that is not working for them in the compounding market. While the middle class is busy buying status symbols that silently drain their bank accounts through maintenance, insurance, and interest fees, the wealthy are buying their personal freedom. With that filter in mind, let's look at the 10 biggest offenders that wealthy retirees never buy.
Let us start with the single most obvious trap that looks like a beautiful lifestyle upgrade, but is actually a set of permanent financial handcuffs. The math on timeshares is absolutely catastrophic. The moment you sign that high-pressure contract in a beautiful resort room, the timeshare loses 50 to 70% of its value. If you ever try to sell that timeshare on the secondary market, you will discover a harsh truth. The market value is essentially zero.
In fact, if you go on eBay right now, you will find hundreds of active listings where desperate owners are trying to sell their timeshares for a single dollar. They are not joking. They are willing to practically give the asset away for free just to escape the mandatory, ever-increasing annual maintenance fees that they are legally locked into for life. It is a permanent liability disguised as a vacation asset, and the wealthy will never touch it.
Now, let's talk about recreational properties. The quiet cabin in the woods or the condo on the lake. It is a beautiful fantasy. You tell yourself that once you buy it, your family will gather there every single weekend, creating priceless memories. But the reality of life is very different. You end up going maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Yet, the property tax bills, the specialized insurance premiums, the homeowners association fees, and the unexpected roof leaks arrive constantly, regardless of whether you are there or not.
This ties up an immense amount of your hard-earned capital. Let's say you have $500,000 tied up in a lake house that you use for only 2 weeks out of the year. If you took that same $500,000 and invested it in a boring, diversified portfolio earning a modest 7% a year, it would generate $35,000 of passive cash flow for you every single year. Think about the kind of vacation you can take with $35,000 of cold, hard cash. You can stay at the Four Seasons, order room service, and travel the world. And the best part? When you check out of that luxury hotel, you do not have to fix a leaky toilet, mow the lawn, or worry about a storm hitting the property. Wealthy retirees prefer to rent luxury. It keeps their capital completely liquid and keeps their weekends free from endless property tours.
This leads us directly to the vacant vacation home investment myth. Many high net worth couples think, we will buy a beautiful second home in Florida, use it for a month during the winter, and it will be a great asset that we can eventually pass down to our children. But here is the reality check. That vacation home sits completely empty for 10 or 11 months out of the year. When an asset is sitting empty, it is not an asset. It is a massive liability. You have constant carrying costs. The property taxes, HOA fees, specialized storm insurance, landscaping, pool maintenance, and HVAC repairs will typically run anywhere from 3 to 5% of the property's total value every single year. If you own $1 million beach house, you are quietly bleeding $30,000 to $40,000 of cash flow every single year just to keep the building standing.
And unlike your primary residence, where you get the daily utility of living in it, this asset is simply sitting there, slowly depreciating on the inside while the local market fluctuates on the outside. As you age, do you really want to worry about a major hurricane hitting your property 3 states away? Do you want to spend your retirement managing 2 sets of contractors? Rich retirees know that simplicity is the ultimate luxury. They want to be travelers, not long-distance property managers.
Oh, this one might upset some insurance agents, but we need to have a serious, numbers-based conversation about whole life insurance as an investment. To be absolutely clear, insurance is vital for protection, but mixing your life insurance with your investing is like trying to make a grilled cheese sandwich with a toaster. It might technically work, but it is going to be messy, incredibly inefficient, and there are far better ways to get the job done. Wealthy retirees avoid using whole life policies as investments because the actual internal rate of return is historically poor, often hovering between just 2 and 4% after you factor in the cost of premiums and inflation. Meanwhile, the hidden fees inside these policies can easily drag away 2 to 3% of your value every single year.
When your net worth grows over $1 or $2 million, you are essentially self-insured. You do not need a massive death benefit to replace your active income because your accumulated assets are already producing the passive income your family needs. The wealthy strategy is simple. Buy cheap term insurance for the years you actually need the protection, like when your mortgage is high and your kids are young, and invest the massive savings and premiums directly into the market. By the time your term insurance expires, your investment portfolio has grown so large that you no longer need the insurance policy at all. Whole life policies lock up your capital with expensive surrender charges that can last for a decade. And the wealthy hate having their money held hostage.
If you have ever been invited to one of those free steak dinner seminars at a local restaurant, you have almost certainly been pitched a complex annuity. Specifically, variable or index annuities with heavy, complicated riders are often sold as a perfectly safe haven for anyone wanting to retire. But that safety comes with a massive, wealth-destroying price tag. We are talking about total annual fees that can easily exceed 3 or even 4% when you stack up the mortality expenses, administrative fees, and those complex investment rider costs. Let us do the simple math. If the stock market does well and returns 8% in a year, but the annuity company takes 4% in fees, they've eaten up half of your total growth. That is not a partnership. That is absolute robbery.
Furthermore, these annuity products are famous for their surrender charges. This is the fine print that says if you need your money back within the next 7 to 10 years due to an emergency, you have to pay a brutal penalty of 10% or more just to access your own cash. Wealthy retirees value flexibility and liquidity. Locking half of your net worth in a rigid contract that penalizes you for accessing it is the exact opposite of financial freedom. Most people never realize this next point, but the silent killer of your retirement isn't a crash. It is the fees inside your daily portfolio. You might have these active funds in your retirement portfolio right now without even realizing it. These are funds where a professional manager is picking individual stocks, claiming they can beat the market, and charging you an expense ratio of 1, 1.5, or even 2% for that privilege. But here is the shocking statistic that Wall Street desperately tries to hide from everyday investors. Over a 15-year period, nearly 90% of active fund managers completely fail to beat their basic benchmark index. This means you're paying 10 to 20 times more in fees for performance that statistically is likely to be worse than a simple low-cost index fund. Let's look at the compounding effect of that extra fee. If you have a $2 million portfolio and you are paying an extra 1% in fees to an active manager, that is $20,000 a year leaving your account. Over a 20-year retirement, assuming normal market growth, that single fee eats up over $500,000 of your wealth. You literally just bought your fund manager a brand new Ferrari instead of keeping that money for your own family. Rich retirees focus on low-cost, tax-efficient index funds and ETFs, where they can control the costs. This asset surprises a lot of people because we naturally associate being rich with driving expensive luxury cars. But if you look at the actual data on self-made millionaires, you see a very different pattern. The fastest way to burn your capital right before retirement is to lease brand new luxury cars every 2 years. When you lease a vehicle, you are signing up for a permanent, never-ending monthly payment that builds absolutely zero equity for you. You are essentially renting prestige from a dealership. Smart retirees understand that a car is simply a tool designed to get you from point A to point B safely and comfortably. They value cash flow and financial independence far more than the temporary status of a leasing contract. For the exact same reason, wealthy retirees avoid buying brand new luxury cars off the lot. A new luxury car loses about 20% of its total value the exact minute you drive it past the dealership gates. Over the first 3 years of ownership, that car will lose 50 to 60% of its value to depreciation. If a wealthy retiree wants to drive a high-quality vehicle like a Lexus, a Mercedes, or a BMW, they use a much smarter strategy. They either buy the vehicle slightly used, letting the first owner take that massive initial depreciation hit, or they buy it new and commit to driving it for at least 10 years. Think about the math. The difference between carrying a $1,200 monthly luxury lease payment and driving a paid-off, high-quality car is $14,400 a year in pure cash flow. That is more than enough money to fund a beautiful luxury cruise or completely max out a grandchild's 529 college savings plan every single year. The wealthy prioritize life experiences and family legacy over the temporary smell of new leather. This is a favorite trap of the hobbyist investor. We are talking about classic cars, rare wine cellars, fine art, or sports memorabilia, purchased specifically under the guise of an investment. While these items can be wonderful hobbies, wealthy retirees rarely count them as core parts of their retirement strategy for one simple reason.
Liquidity. You cannot pay for an unexpected knee surgery or cover a tax bill with a fender from a '69 Mustang.
Collectibles are incredibly illiquid. When you decide it is time to sell, you have to find a highly specific buyer, pay massive auction house commissions, cover expensive shipping and handling, and deal with authentication disputes. Plus, the carrying costs of collectibles are entirely hidden. You have to pay to insure the art, climate control the wine cellar, and store the classic cars safely. Wealthy retirees treat these things as enjoyable hobbies. If they happen to appreciate in value, they view it as a nice bonus, but they never rely on them for their actual retirement income. They rely on highly liquid markets like stocks, bonds, and real estate that actually pay the rent.
Real estate has created more self-made millionaires than almost any other vehicle on Earth. But in retirement, bad real estate will create more headaches and financial stress than anything else. Too many middle-class investors buy appreciation plays. They buy a condo in a hot, expensive city where the monthly rent does not even cover the mortgage, the property taxes, and the steep HOA fees. They do this because they are banking on the hope that the price of the property will go up over time. This means they are actively feeding the property out of their own pocket every single month. You are writing a check just to keep owning the asset, which is the very definition of a liability.
In retirement, cash flow is your oxygen. If an asset is consuming your cash, it is slowly suffocating your retirement. Wealthy investors who hold real estate demand positive cash flow from day one, or they skip the property manager headache entirely and invest in liquid REITs or private syndications, where they can collect the checks without ever getting a 2 a.m. phone call about a broken water heater.
The final insight we are building toward changes everything about how you protect your hard-earned nest egg. So what do wealthy retirees actually do with their money if they are avoiding timeshares, whole life policies, and depreciation traps? They implement a simple, elegant investment framework that prioritizes their quality of life over their ego. This framework is built on 3 core pillars.
Pillar 1, income over assets. The wealthy do not focus on how large their total asset pile is. They focus on how much predictable, recurring cash flow those assets generate. They structure their portfolios around assets that pay them automatically: dividend-paying stocks, interest from high-quality bonds, and truly passive real estate income. This ensures that their daily life is funded by the money babies their assets produce, rather than having to sell off their principal during a down market. Pillar 2, liquidity is king. Wealthy retirees ensure that a significant portion of their net worth is completely liquid and accessible within 24 to 48 hours. When you know you can cover any sudden medical emergency, a family need, or a market crash without having to sell a physical property or pay a massive surrender penalty, your stress levels drop to 0. Liquidity is the ultimate key to a peaceful night of sleep.
Pillar 3, ruthless cost control. They strip out the active mutual funds with high fees, the expensive insurance commissions, and the unnecessary property maintenance costs. They understand that every single percentage point they save in fees is a percentage point less risk they have to take in the volatile stock market to hit their retirement goals. By stopping the collection of expensive things and focusing on collecting liquid freedom, you can optimize your portfolio, eliminate financial stress, and secure your final years with absolute certainty. Which of these 10 status assets do you see middle-class families waste the most money on? Let me know in the comments below. If this conversation brought you real value today, please drop a like and follow Teddy's Wealthcraft to think smarter about your money, protect your nest egg, and see what others miss. Oh, if you want to make sure your retirement engine never runs out of cash flow, click on the video on your screen right now to discover the compounding strategy you must start using today.